There we go. Welcome to Monday morning. It's March 3rd, 2025. This is Up North News Radio. I'm Pat Kreitlow, prepared to work for a full week. First time in a little while for that. It's not my fault. Coming up on the program today, we will talk about the episode, I guess we could call it, in the Oval Office on Friday between President Trump and the leader of Ukraine. We'll talk about news closer to home as well, and we'll talk about the Oscars. Did you know there was this movie named Denora? I didn't. That started winning award after award after award. Kristen Lyerly's here. Laura Bird is here, author, and we'll talk about book clubs, how to start one, how to find one, how to make it work for you. Jane McNair, Brittany Merlot, so much more coming up here on this Monday edition of Up North News Radio across the Civic Media Radio Network, starting at 6:06 and right here. We'll see you in about 4 minutes.
across Wisconsin from Civic Media. This is Up North News Radio. Now, live from our Lake Minnesota studio, here's the founding editor of Up North News, Pat Brightlow.
Well, hey there, Wisconsin. Good morning. It is 6:06 on this Monday morning, March 3rd, 2025. It's another beautiful morning to have you here up north, live from Lake Minnesota, from wherever you're listening across the Civic Media Radio Network, on the app, by podcast, on social media. Thank you for starting your week right here. I've got a question for you. Couple, actually. First one is, when was the last time you forgot to set an alarm? Because I thought, at my advanced age, I know memory will be an issue eventually, but I couldn't possibly tell you the last time that I forgot to set an alarm. I just do. It's just a thing that you do, apparently, until last night. So it's a good thing that Sherry had an alarm set as well, because otherwise I might still be snoring and drooling at this point, which is a little bit odd. But it was a long, fun weekend. Stayed up a little too late watching the Oscars, and thankfully am here, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. Maybe a couple of minutes less so, but still here, nevertheless. Here's my other question for you. Did you know there was a movie named Denora? Because, again, watching the Oscars, I saw it win one award and then another and another. I was like, literally have never heard of that movie till just now. You hear about all the contenders, whether you've seen them or not, whether you've heard of them or not. But apparently I didn't hear enough about this as an Oscar contender. But apparently a lot of other people didn't either. It was a big surprise, winning Best Picture and getting a lot of attention. Still a pretty good show overall. Conan O'Brien is definitely not for everybody, but it worked for me. It was perfectly fine until I was too tired and went to bed, forgetting to set an alarm along the way. Our forecast says that no matter how much you wish that spring were literally around the corner, what's around the corner is a big nasty storm, a strong system that's going to bring widespread rain, gusty winds, the potential for accumulating snow tomorrow into Wednesday. Too early to speculate on amounts, given that there's going to be a lot of rain on the front end of it, but Wednesday morning's commute could be very snowy and windy for a lot of folks. And so be tuned to your radio, keep your weather apps handy and everything else to know what's going on starting later tomorrow and then into Wednesday. At the bus stop this morning, temperatures look like this. It's 29 here on Lake Wissota, 26 in Hayward, 28 in Amory. Wausau's at 30, Wisconsin Rapids 30 as well. La Crosse and Green Bay and Madison all reporting 31 degrees right now, 32 in Milwaukee. It's 33 at Radio Park in Racine, where we'll check in with Greg Bach in just a moment. Coming up on the program this morning, we should be hearing from Dr. Kristen Lyerly, as we often do on Monday mornings. Then we will, in our second hour, talk to author Laura Bird. We haven't checked in with her for a little while, and the last couple of visits, she has made book recommendations to us. This time around, we're going to talk about book clubs. We need a diversion. Lord knows we need a diversion, given recent events. And books and book clubs do that for a lot of folks and might be your next new favorite activity, especially after Laura talks to us about how to find the right book club or how to start a book club and how to tailor it so that it works best for you. So stick around for that coming up at 7:30 this morning. But right now at 10 past 6 on this 3/3/25, we bring in one Greg Bach from Radio Park in Racine, who I asked him today's question. He was familiar with a movie called Denora, so he's one up on me. So 1 point for Bach. Mr. Bach watched the Oscars at all. Good morning, Gregory, sir.
Good morning, Pat. I'm doing well, thank you. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for asking, everyone. I'm very tired. I did watch the Oscars last night up until 9:32 p.m.
Ooh,
because if you were watching it on Hulu shut it off. So I missed Best Actor. I missed Best Actress, and I missed Best Picture.
Hold on, so Hulu was carrying it live. Same as ABC, but
there's difference. ABC was carrying it live. If you were watching on channel 12 or whatever your ABC affiliate is,
watching
it live. Hulu had it as a slotted piece of programming that went from 6 p.m. until 9:32, and at 9:32 it just stopped.
Yes, and that's how it is. It appears in the TV guides. Was that it's a 6 to 9:30 thing, and then they give it a couple of minutes in case the last speech runs long. Yep. When was the last time the Oscars went only 2 minutes over?
Well,
correct answer. Not any time that I can remember.
Yeah, I was really bummed that Lithgow was never employed at all last night, even though Adrian Brody,
I hear, he should have gotten a look.
Not gonna lie, that as a producer, as a person who makes his job, makes his money, making sure programming goes off without a hitch, and timing is huge. When he said, "Cut the music," I've done this before. I'm like, "Oh, buddy,
don't dare me! Don't dare me! That orchestra is about to get really loud." No, it's.
And you can make an argument that his speech was very heartfelt. I don't disagree with that. I thought it was very, very beautiful what he wanted to say, but he could have written it down because there was a lot of ums, ahs, and he did not prepare that speech.
Correct.
And from a logistics standpoint, I'm like, dude, you just if you would have went if you said I'll be brief, and that brief was 15 seconds, but you talk for another minute and a half.
Yeah. Yeah, and again, just riffing at that point.
Yeah,
there were only a couple of folks that came up there with a speech that was not made up and not written down, but actually memorized. You could tell they knew what they wanted to say, which always surprises me. That doesn't happen more often because they're actors. It's their job to write something down or get something and memorize it and essentially perform it. And you can't do that for when you're nominated for the biggest award of your life. That's my personal thing, I guess. So
no one. I didn't see the young lady from Honora's speech. I can't remember her name. And I did not see the speech for Honora, which that guy just kept on winning and winning and winning, which was amazing to watch.
Yeah.
But Zoe Saldana's speech was amazing. It was on time. It was heartfelt. It was emotional.
Yes.
It was the best speech of the night, period.
Yes, it was. And it featured that one part that is always awkward for everybody, the moments of ugly crying.
Yes.
When the moment really hits her. I remember Halle Berry kind of had the same thing.
Yep.
And you just, on the one hand, it's a genuine moment, but you also feel bad because you're going to look back at it and go, ooh, a little bit of cringy, but it's because the feeling was so deep that she had. For somebody who's been in all of the biggest money-making movies ever, and now to be recognized with an Oscar was a pretty cool deal for her. So, good for her. And like I said, Conan, not for everybody. I was good with it.
Me, baby. I loved every minute of
it. Apart from his gratuitous opening number about not wasting time.
Yeah.
Because it's okay, I see what you're doing there, Conan. But I did love the beginning with the stars from Wicked. I guess I just liked a lot of it. Not that it's going to win any awards necessarily, but for a little Sunday night diversion, it totally worked fine by me. So
I know people who won Emmys for their work on the Academy Awards. So who knows? I like the fact that the winning was spread out. No one. I don't believe anybody was not shunned, but
snubbed.
I think every movie that was majorly, they all won awards.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't Wicked didn't win anything. Oh my God. Everybody got some awards.
Yes, including Kieran Culkin, who maybe gave us the most awkward speech in saying, well, you promised me a third kid if I won an award and a fourth if I got an Oscar, to which you could just feel all the wives out there going, no, don't you ever do that to me ever, but also don't promise your husband you'll have more kids if you win an Oscar because, he might actually call you out on national TV about that.
He's the kind of person who will do that 100% for the joke. Even if it's just a joke, he will do it for the joke.
Yes, no doubt there. 6:15 right now on Up North News Radio. We had our Sunday morning edition of our politics newsletter. You can sign up for our newsletters over at upnorthnewswi.com. Get our weekday newsletter and our new Sunday morning politics one as well. And once again, I am floored by the number of responses to our question of the week. This time around, The question dealt with President Trump and co-president Musk doing their assault on the federal government and on spending, and have they maybe gone too far, or is it, just cut, baby, cut, keep going, full steam ahead? Or we threw in there the oddball response of maybe you pause it and create a bipartisan citizens commission to try to identify wasteful spending. And so a lot of great heartfelt answers on that. So I wanted to make sure to thank everybody for their responses. You can sign up for our newsletter at UpNorthNewsWI.com. In today's edition, Christina Laurie kicks off Women's History Month and talks about the continuing existence of a gender pay gap. And from an article you can find on our website, the surprising connection between IVF, success or failure, and air pollution. There was a rather exhaustive study that took a look at it in conditions you otherwise wouldn't be able to use were it not for the existence of IVF. So head over to UpNorthNewsWI.com, read that article, and subscribe to our newsletter while you're there as well. Christian Yelich made his first spring training start on Saturday, making 3 at-bats as a designated hitter, continuing his comeback from back surgery last August. He had 2 strikeouts and an RBI ground out, but said he felt good, so that's a nice development. When you consider, Mr. Bach, that the regular season home opener is 4 weeks from today. That feels so good.
Oh,
it also means that March Madness isn't far off, and the basketball playoffs in the NBA. Giannis had 29 points, Damian Lillard 28, as the Bucks beat the Dallas Mavericks on Saturday. The two teams will meet again on Wednesday in Milwaukee, but first the Bucks have a game Tuesday in Atlanta. The 11th-ranked Badger men's basketball team fell at 8th-ranked Michigan State yesterday, 71-62. There are now 2 games left before the Big Ten tournament. The Badgers will play Wednesday night at Minnesota. You'll be able to hear that game on several Civic Media stations and on the Civic Media app starting at 7 o'clock Wednesday. And then Saturday, they'll host Penn State. Before that ends the regular season, and then the conference tournament begins. The 21st-ranked Marquette men beat Georgetown on Saturday. Their last 2 games are at UConn Wednesday and hosting St. John's on Saturday to get set for the Big East Conference Tournament. And the Badger women's hockey team beat up on Bemidji State over the weekend, continuing their conference tournament this Friday in Duluth. More after this on Up North News Radio on the Civic Media Radio Network. about to hear Cab Calloway with his band from a 1943 movie. The movie's from 1943, and we'll tell you why Cab Calloway is in today's history lesson coming up in about a half hour. But I wanted to especially bring up this tune, Jump and Jive, from that movie, Stormy Weather from 1943. If you've never seen this come across your social media feed, it is probably the best dance number in all of Hollywood. And you can just give the Oscar to that one right now for best dance routine ever by a couple of guys called the Nicholas Brothers. And their dance routine all throughout the restaurant where the band is playing is just a sight to behold. So just a little something to pass along here. I was just telling you before the break about the Badger women hockey team continuing their conference tournament later this week in Duluth. When I said they beat up on Bemidji State, let me go a step further. The scores were 3-0 and 11-0, including 8 goals in the first period. So the Badger women continue to prove why they are the number one team in the country. The Badger men's hockey team is in the Big Ten tournament. The quarterfinals will be at Ohio State on Friday and Saturday evenings, and then again Sunday if needed for a best of 3 series. So we wish all the best to both the Badger men's and women's hockey teams moving forward. One of those coincidences you didn't really expect to have happen has happened to our plans for a live event about the Wisconsin Supreme Court race. We are holding a live event on Wednesday, March 12th at the Overture Center in Madison, all about the Supreme Court race, 3 different panel discussions with all kinds of great guests talking about what the court could do about education, about reproductive health rights, about the economy and jobs. You want to learn more, head over to upnorthnewswi.com/supreme to learn more. Here's where the coincidence comes into play. It was late Friday when I first got the note of, hey, your live event is on Wednesday the 12th, right? I said, yeah. And they said, oh, they just scheduled a Supreme Court debate for that evening. So I said, what? But fortunately for us, in a sense of good planning, again, unintentional, our event runs from 5:30 until 7, and then the debate starts at 7. So our panel discussion has now become a panel discussion / watch party, where people will be able to come and hopefully monitor the debate after hearing all about what's at stake. So again, head over to upnorthnewswi.com/supreme to learn more about that. Well, let's take a moment and talk about what New York Times columnist Bret Stephens called a day of American infamy. And that, of course, would be the, how do you put it, embarrassment, the disgrace that happened in the Oval Office when the president, and a surprise appearance by somebody who may not have known he was still the vice president, J.D. Vance, both showing up in order to ambush and gang up on Volodymyr Zelensky from Ukraine and berate him and badger him in front of cameras, all quite intentional, of course, to, do what only Putin puppets could do. I mean, this was expressly doing the bidding of Vladimir Putin, was to make it look like Ukraine no longer had a full ally in the United States. And I mentioned Bret Stephens' column for this reason. It was the one thing I passed along on social media about it because I never thought I'd have anything good to say about Bret Stephens. He's the New York Times conservative columnist. I, much like I would have said about Liz Cheney back in the day, disagree with about 95% of what comes out of their mouths. And yet we have found these places where there is basic agreement, on things like global security, democracy, standing up to dictators, and things like that. And Bret Stephens begins his column by reminding us about a meeting in August of 1941 between Franklin Roosevelt and Winston Churchill, where they drew up the Atlantic Charter, a joint declaration about the world's leading democratic powers, and the common principles they share for a post-war world. Talking all about no aggrandizement, territorial or other, sovereign rights and self-government restored to those who have been forcibly deprived of them, access on equal terms to the trade and raw materials of the world that are needed for economic prosperity. And then Brett Stevens goes on to say, just imagine what would happen if the powers of Europe had come to Franklin Roosevelt, and Roosevelt said, "Well, actually, I'm thinking you should just be nicer to Hitler, and by the way, sign this deal that lets me have a lot of your mineral rights. And can you do that, please? And if you don't, I will badger you and hector you in front of the newsreel cameras." That's where we're at in this country right now. And for those folks who would say, well, this was a comeuppance for Ukraine and they were assuming too much from us. Again, put yourself in their shoes. They had every reason to assume that when we say we stand for peace and security in Europe, that we mean it. That with very limited exception of a couple of extreme goofballs in Congress, there were no voices in United States leadership indicating any hesitancy whatsoever that you have to stop what Russia's doing in Ukraine, because otherwise it's going to look at Poland, it's going to look at the Baltic states, and next thing you know, we're going to have a full-fledged war in Europe again. And the only way to stop that is to stop Russia in Ukraine and not allow them to be rewarded for their aggression, for their war, for their attempts at Ukrainian genocide. All until Donald Trump came along, who has always had nothing but wonderful, glowing things to say about Vladimir Putin. And so now we face an instance here where, again, there's no right way to describe the embarrassment, and there are a handful of low points in American history. Plessy versus Ferguson comes to mind. The Dred Scott decision comes to mind. But this may be one of the lowest. And it's one that the United States is going to have to work very hard to overcome if we're going to have global security and a secure standing again in the world. More after this. You're Up North.
You get your study full. You make up the joint and jump like the gators do.
She's alive, awake, alert, enthusiastic.
Woo!
She's Kristen Lively.
Monday.
And she's here and she's ready. How you
I'm
doing?
ready, baby. Good. How are you?
Oh, pretty good. Pretty good. It was weird. First time I've forgot to set an alarm in quite a while, but
Oh,
it happens.
I missed that.
Well, you weren't there. If you were there, oh, you missed me talking about it. Okay. I'm like, if you missed the part where I'm sleeping in going, wait. But I'm here. I'm here now. And
Back
we're
in the
gonna get
groove.
going. Back in the groove, and we're going to get going in 15 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
Man and a woman had a little baby. Yes, they did. They had three in the family. That's a magic number.
Today is 3/3/25, so we thought we'd bring along 3 is a magic number. Plus, it's got that phrase, a man and a woman had a little baby. And Kristen Lyerly delivered that little baby, and she joins us now. Chief Morale Officer of Up North News Radio. How you doing?
I'm good. I love a little schoolhouse rock in the morning.
Oh, absolutely. So you are back. I can't keep your work straight. It's but you were up north for quite a while. But you're there. You're back home. It's not a green screen. Your boys remembered you. Who's that
I got home
stranger?
last night. I got a long conversation about the different ways that they wrestled and beat each other up. I learned a lot of new words.
Oh dear. Oh,
I
my.
can't say them on the air. At least I
No.
probably shouldn't.
Nope. We were visiting Sherry's parents over the weekend, and at one point, Sherry was telling a story, and she let a word drop that I don't normally hear her say around her parents. And I was just like, then again, we are approaching, our 6th decade of life. I guess if you can't say bad words in front of your parents at some point, then you never can. But
Oh, yeah. I learn something new every day from them because they have a whole other vocabulary.
yes,
Like they're the Gen Z people, and they remind me that their Gen is a Z and my Gen is an X. And there is a place for us to be able to communicate with each other. And they're always so funny when they're teaching me new words.
Oh gosh, the new words thing is one of my favorite things on social media now, on like TikTok or Instagram Reels, is when people have their parents, they have their parents say something in the current lingo while they take a drink of water, the kids, and they try to hold it in and can't. They start laughing, much the same way if Greg Bach were to take a drink of water as I were to start talking about some of the names of, no, you can't do a spit take on the board. If I say 50 Cent, you can't do that.
Well, also, Pat, you're not that much older than me. Like, it's not like my father. Like, she's certainly got a lot of Riz, then water everywhere. But
You never use the word certainly in the same sentence as Riz. I did learn that.
You did? Okay. I'm still not anywhere near knowing what some of those things are. And I now take it as like a mission. Like I used to want to learn everything. Like I want to know what that means. I want to know what this is. And you get to a certain point where you're going, no, I'm not going to use that. Those words are going to be, laughed at by their own kids before too much longer. You know
what it's like? It's like the old Valley Girl thing back in the
Yes.
80s.
Yeah.
Cake
Yeah.
with a spoon.
Yeah. Grody,
Ready to the max.
Right.
there's words that we think the kids use, and I was talking to my niece and nephew who are 23 and 19 respectively, and they were like, yeah, that's not even words we use. That's like Gen Z. That's like they're Gen Z. Like that's middle schoolers who are using those words. I'm like, oh, how does that feel to be old before?
Oh, I like how you turned that on them. It was
Yes.
going to be about you, but then you made it about them.
Oh, you're the old
Work.
ones. Well, okay, I'm just gonna go sit back with my Nescafe and just enjoy a night out.
Read the paper.
Well, that's why, again, as somebody who actually does like to study words and figure out how they're used and everything, it's the ones that have stickiness, that have staying power. Let's say, if I still, and now it's in jest, of course, but if I say, when Greg will send me a note and I'll send back groovy, and he'll be like, okay,
yeah.
but cool wasn't always a thing, and yet we still use that word. So some words can stand the test of time. Others, not so much. But did you watch any of the Oscars last night?
I didn't. I was on a plane. I caught a couple little clips though, and I have to say I'm really excited about Honora. I don't know if there's been any controversy. I don't know if you guys have talked about it at all, but I really loved that film. I know it was very adult and it had a
Yes.
lot of themes that maybe some people wouldn't be comfortable with, but I thought it was incredibly well done.
Pat can't talk about it because up until last night he had never heard of the film. So
Nothing about it as a contender or anything. Just like, what is this?
I
So-
can't. I think it was his first speech. Sean, I'm trying to look up his last name because he won
Baker?
4 Academy Awards last night. Him alone. He in his first speech, I believe, thanked sex workers
He
and
did,
the work they
yes.
did and how they allowed him to be part of the process and into their world. And then he told us beautiful speech on his 3rd Academy Award about the importance of seeing movies in the theaters. And I always feel like since the pandemic, Hollywood has been kind of like low-key bullying us back in the movie theaters, even though we don't really want to, and it's their fault because they're the ones who say, oh, on streaming today, like a week after it comes out in the theater. So why would I bother going to the theater if it's going to be, I can watch it on my couch.
I did like the Conan skit about that, about
Yes.
how we've now built something called a building for movies.
Cinema Stream.
Cinema Stream. We've put 800 cell phones. We've glued them together so that you can see it on one big cell phone screen.
How do I hold it though?
You don't. You
The
just sit and
building.
enjoy it. The building holds it. It was-
Yeah, but where most towns, like where we live, Honora was not on the big screen
No,
in Green
no.
Bay.
Yeah.
You think of
And
like
his 4th speech was about the importance of independent media.
yes.
Yeah.
Conclave was one that Sherry and I had actually wanted to see. We saw some of the ads for it, and it came to Chippewa Falls for 1 or 2 weekends, and that was it. And so we finally saw it streaming 2 months later or something like that.
Yeah.
Which I had a sense was going to win more awards, even though I didn't think it was, I wouldn't have called it a great movie, but there was a lot of, buzz, not Riz, right? Buzz, is that? Okay.
No. It'd be Buzz, Pat.
Okay.
It'd be Buzz.
A lot of buzz
There-
about that.
The actors can have Riz. The movies have Buzz.
Sure.
Oh,
Okay.
Greg's an expert.
I know.
Okay, say.
Conclave did have that, like, I will win an Oscar feel.
Yeah.
So did The Brutalist. Both of them felt like Oscar movies.
What do we think of Adrian Brody winning 2 Best Actor Oscars for basically portraying the same role? Holocaust survivor.
He kind of mentioned it honestly in his speech. He mentioned the fact that the circumstances where I felt, and that he was very thankful for being. I mean, I don't think it's because of. It can't just be because of the movie or the topic, or even it's the confluence of all the things coming together to create the performance that he gives.
Yeah.
And it just happened to be that this was about someone who survived Nazi Germany. So
The other one was more about him being a Holocaust survivor. This one was more about what happened after that.
yeah,
No, it wasn't exactly the same role.
No,
by a long shot.
Yes, I totally get that. But it would be like, Bob Denver doing a show where he's once again stranded on a desert island. But this time he's not called Gilligan. He's called Gilligan, something like that.
No,
No, not the same? Okay.
not the same.
The comment sections are busy today with what appears.
what did we say now to upset them?
Well, a lot of Putin apologists are back here telling us things like Trump is pro-peace, Democrats are pro-war. We've got a reminder about impeachment because what Trump did in the Oval Office on Friday really isn't that much different than what he did in his first term, which was commit extortion in the Oval Office.
To the same guy.
To the same guy going, I want you to do me a little favor. Nice little country you got there. It'd be a shame if something happened to it. And I can control whether your country gets steamrolled or not by my buddy Vlad. And Zelensky, much to his credit, I mean, he just sat there and watched them make jackasses of themselves.
I mean,
And-
so disrespectful.
Yeah.
So disrespectful to a sitting president. I mean,
And then
And
to find
Vance,
So
it was
angry.
Vance. With all due respect, Mr. President, you're being disrespectful.
Yeah.
Was what he
Yeah.
said. I'm like, who are you and
and
why
saying,
are you
have
even
you
there?
said thank you once to this president? Have you said thank you once when he's actually said thank you time and time again? It's J.D. Vance and Donald Trump who have never said thank you to NATO
Yeah.
this was the only time after 9/11 that NATO invoked Article 5 and all the nations of NATO committed troops was right after 9/11 to help the United States. So, it was very apparent, very naked what was being attempted there in the Oval Office. And, you could tell Zelensky, he kind of knew this was going to be not a great thing going in, probably did not expect the full on camera ambush that he got. But again, this is a guy whose country is being bombed out of
Yeah.
existence. So he's used to these kinds of assaults and dealt with it, brushed it off his shoulder and headed back home. And all of Europe is behind him saying, well,
Yep.
the U.S. hasn't got your back, but we do.
I over the week yesterday, actually, I was just I don't know why I was scrolling through Facebook, but I came across two of my cousins who are posting as reported by Tucker Carlson, and it's this really poisonous.
Reported.
Thank you. Yeah. This real
Entertainment.
poisonous rhetoric of how Zelensky is part of the same party that with the Nazis and he is the aggressor.
Oh my God.
I'm like,
that's so
how-
3 years old.
How can you do that? How can you just change your mind? We all watched it happen. We all watched in February of 2021 or 22 when Putin rolled into Ukraine, and we were all horrified, and we're like, we can't do this. And now all of a sudden they're like,
for the same
Zelensky's the aggressor. He's the one who started this all.
For the same reason, those same folks who were horrified on the evening of January 6th and on January 7th, by about January 10th, had changed their minds and had decided that somehow these were all plants, that were invading the Capitol. And it's that level of misinformation that, you can knock people back on their heels with the truth, but eventually they're going to get back up and they're going to try to start spewing misinformation again. And so it's incumbent on all of us to just keep coming back time and time again. Kristen, you know this. You have heard every talking point in the book about reproductive health rights, and you think that you've held this argument for the 10,000th time, and yet somebody else new will come up and say something that you go, no, here's what science actually says about these things. That sadly is just part of the human condition, is we always have to, you can never just assume, well, I've told the truth enough times. I think it should stick by now, right?
I think for me, I say it over and over and over and over again in public, but then when I am with a patient in the office and we're having the conversation, and it's clear that this one individual has not heard the things that I've been, clearly not been listening to me in public, because, not everybody hears the same stories. And so we have to have that conversation on an individual basis. And that really brings it home for me how important these grassroots conversations are, how important it is to talk to your neighbors, to go to the theater, to just go to the grocery store and talk about something of substance with each other, the things that really matter to you, what's happening in our public schools, the cost of groceries, how we can support our neighbors in need. All of these things are the things that pull us together instead of this top-down ugly media where they are feeding us talking points that frankly are not true in many cases. And these people it's propaganda. They create their own reality, but we can push back by having these conversations with each other.
Somewhat related to this, and if I'm not giving you enough time, we'll get into it more at the start of the next hour here. But there's a lot of Republican fixation on Governor Evers using a term called inseminated persons in place of mothers when talking about things like IVF.
This is funny. It
Go
really
ahead.
actually it is.
You got 60 seconds. Go for it.
So in the budget, they're replacing words like husband and wife with man and woman and inseminated person. And it's scientifically accurate. It is the right thing to do. Like my kids aren't running around going, inseminated person, where's my other shoe? Nobody's trying to replace your mother with inseminated person. They're just bringing things up to speed. They're adding sperm banks because that's not part of the current law. And a lot of people do get their semen that they use when they are seeking artificial reproduction. So they're just bringing the law up to speed. This is politics. This is propaganda trying to get you all riled up about the culture wars. Don't buy into it. We're better than that.
Please buy into it. Please don't buy into it. We are better than that.
We are.
And that we're talking about legal terminology that is more inclusive. Although the notion of your boys still running around the house going, inseminated person, where's my shoe?
That would happen here, actually.
I was going to say, if they've heard this, they're now going to do it. Today's history lesson coming up right after this. You're up north.
3 times 7 is 21. 3 times 6 is 18. 3 times 5 is 15. 3 times 4 is 12. And 3 times 3 is 9. And 3 times 2 is 6.
And 3 times 1 is 3, of course.
I'm pretty sure I got all of my civics education from Schoolhouse Rock. I was that kid on Saturday mornings watching cartoons who was like, blah, 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 all the other stuff. I was waiting for the Schoolhouse Rocks.
That's how I know the preamble to the Constitution.
I'm just
We the
a
people.
bill.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I know. So I'm going to have we're going to have a fun contest coming up later this week. I'm finally going to have shelves delivered for the wall back here. They'll be delivered on Wednesday, but they're being delivered by IKEA, meaning I have to assemble them. So we're going to have some kind of an over-under. How many weeks will it take until I get them assembled and put up back there?
I'm just going to also, how many holes in the wall from you just hammering going, I don't need to find a stud.
No, thankfully they're not. I won't have to do the stud. They just assemble them and stand them up and hope that they don't fall down on me and crush me in the middle of the show. But
I know how to find studs because here I am with you guys.
Oh my God.
Oh, jeez.
Does anyone have HR's number on speed dial? My goodness. That's how I know I'm old. Like if a woman ever came up to me in a bar and was like, hey, what's going on? I'm like, no.
So who set you up for this?
No, thank you.
Right.
I have the time. I have my Arnold Palmer here. I must finish.
Can we talk a little bit about our reproductive rights tour that we're doing next week? Tomorrow.
Yes.
Next week. It's here. It's this week.
Everyone's doing a tour, and I'm not doing anything.
We can put something together.
I mean, come with us.
20 seconds.
I'm going to be in Milwaukee.
Okay.
Tomorrow.
All right. Secret Joe.
He had a heart as big as a whale. Hidey, 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 high. Hody, 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 oh.
There's Cab Calloway again, this time doing Minnie the Moocher. This one is from the Blues Brothers in 1980, but he recorded it on this day in New York City in 1931. It would become the first jazz recording to sell 1 million copies. Cab Calloway passed away in 1994 at the age of 86. And I was referencing earlier Stormy Weather and the Johnson Brothers dancing to one of his other Cab Calloway songs. And it just reminded me as a kid when there were only 3 TV stations, there was no cable, there was no internet or anything. And so if you were up late, like after Johnny Carson, it was nothing but these old movies, whether it was, Fred Astaire or Gene Kelly or Cab Calloway or whatever. And again, I feel like, I don't mean to sound all old here, but we don't have that communal experience of everybody watching the same old movies. Now we're sitting here going, Honora, what's that?
No, we're not. You are.
Oh yeah. It's just me. By the way, that same day, 1931, when Cab Calloway recorded this, the Star-Spangled Banner was adopted by Congress as our national anthem. Happy birthday to Jennifer Warren, 76 years old today, born in Seattle, Washington. This was her big solo hit from 1976.
Well known for her duets.
Funny
Definitely
that you
has-
should say that.
A softer Linda Ronstadt sound. Like,
Yes.
Yeah.
She had 2 Grammy Awards, one for her 1983 duet with Joe Cocker, Up Where We Belong, and in 1987 with Bill Medley for I've Had the Time of My Life, which we will play a little bit later on in the show. Jennifer Warren, 76 today. Happy birthday to Tone Loc. This one's going to make the youngers feel older. Tone Loc is 59 today.
Oh, this song reminds me so much of college.
Oh, yeah.
And here's one for the music nerds. The sample behind it, Van Halen's "Jamie's Crying."
Uh-huh. I never put that together, but thank you.
Yeah. Tone Loc born Anthony Smith in Los Angeles. On this day in 1972, did I give you a link for Coconut or no?
You didn't.
Okay. On this day in 1972, Nilsson's album, Nilsson Schmilsson, was certified gold, and I meant to get you Coconut because it's all about calling the doctor and woke her up. You know, put the lime in the coconut.
Put the lime in the coconut.
I'm not the one who needs to be woken up, buddy.
Yeah, true.
Okay.
Shots fired at a guy that forgot to set his alarm this morning. Let's move right on to Metallica, releasing their 3rd studio album this day in 1986, the title track from Master of Puppets.
Would you like to spend the rest of the show talking about this album? Because I can.
I was just about to say, and here's Greg Bach with some other fun fact about Master of Puppets.
Recorded in 1985 to 1986 in Sweet Silence Studios over in Europe by Flemming Rasmussen, this was the last album to feature Cliff Burton as their bass player, as he would die later that year in a bus accident in Lumvi, Sweden.
Lumbi.
I can go on.
That's okay. That was good. We got the dead bass player. We're ready to move on. Happy 28th birthday to singer Camila Cabello, who was born 28 years ago in where, Camila? Where? Oh, yes. Thank you. On this day in 2017, the Nintendo Switch was released.
Oh my gosh.
Is that a thing for your boys?
It's a huge thing. Yes.
I've never heard you so deadpan about something. It's a huge thing.
Yeah. My Switch.
How many times did you threaten to or take away the Switch from the boys for not doing their homework or cleaning their room or something?
No, I'm more of a no, I really haven't done that. They do the right thing when we have a conversation. Let me put it that way.
Back in my day, a Switch was a totally different thing.
I was going to say, I was going to take me to the Switch, and yeah, you're right there with me, buddy.
Back in my day, they didn't take it away. They made me pick one.
Yep. Let's see. We've got first a new month, a new week, so we've got all kinds of things on the calendar today. Let's start with the day. Today is Talking Third Persons Day, Pat said.
That's weird.
Yeah, I know.
No.
This is National If Pets Had Thumbs Day.
Also weird.
Also
That's
weird.
dumb.
I know, because we only have so much room for stuff on social media now with our pets doing crazy things.
Some cats have thumbs.
Today is National World Wildlife Day. This is Caregiver Appreciation Day.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yes,
Yes.
it is.
Yes,
Yep.
We
it is.
appreciate you caregivers.
We
More
really
of that.
do. Yep. This is National 33 Flavors Day. Must be a Baskin Robbins thing. It is Canadian Bacon Day. It is Irish Whiskey Day. I could put all those together with Baskin Robbins, Canadian Bacon, Irish Whiskey. I'd also have to note that this is Mulled Wine Day, Moscow Mule Day, National Ear Care Day.
Just get wasted month.
Yep, I know. This is Women's History Month, as we mentioned earlier, and International Women's Week. And with it being a new month here, this is Brain Injury Awareness Month, MS Awareness Month, Reading Month, and Frozen Foods Month, which I suppose could be everything. Maybe, I don't know if it's just about vegetables or what, but we're counting pizza, right? Because I mean, if it weren't for frozen pizza, I wouldn't eat 2-3 days out of the week.
It's a
just
food.
Mm-hmm.
It is a food.
Aren't we like the state that consumes the most frozen pizza?
Probably.
I wouldn't surprise me. And you know why? Because Wisconsin makes more pizza cheese than any place else, I believe, in the world, and it's the best.
Jack from Jack's Pizza.
Yeah.
Used to work with my dad in Kaukauna. It's true.
Wow.
Okay.
So much trivia today.
I have nothing for that.
So much of it trivial, which is what we do best here. Author Laura Bird helps us find or create the right book club in the second hour of Up North News Radio. Still ahead here on the Civic Media Radio Network. Live from Lake Wissota, I'm Pat Kreitlow. Ooh, na, na.
And we're out.
Ooh, na, na.
Did that last "ooh na na" make it on the radio? Because
It
that's
did.
horrible.
That was almost perfectly timed to the second. That was wonderful. Just starting.
You're talking about the one on the song, right? Not mine.
What?
No, yours.
No,
Well,
not mine.
where you started talking, where you did that,
Where I said
where you
ooh,
did.
na, na?
Oh, yeah. Okay. No, I was talking about like the teamwork that was happening there with.
Oh, there was all kinds of teamwork.
There was so much. That was the best teamwork.
Yeah.
I just cannot get over seeing my cousins posting the things they're posting. And like, it's so disappointing. And I don't want to say anything on my face. I'm like, this is Facebook. I'm not getting into this argument here.
No.
But they're saying these things publicly. It's one thing to have these beliefs privately or to have this conversation with like one person or a few other people who how they feel. But to just put it out into the world is different.
Yeah.
I don't disagree with you. And one of my cousins even said to her, like, we're all cousins, all first cousins. And he even said, you can block me if you want, but this is misinformation and propaganda that you're being fed. And anything that says Tucker Carlson reported is not worth listening to. So,
Correct. Yeah.
and I felt like, okay, Danny said it. I'm not going to pile on then. Like, it doesn't, I don't want to lose family, but I also don't want to like get into a Facebook argument.
No, but to also, you can't stop everybody from spreading misinformation, but with a family member, you can, if you want to, reach out and go, can I answer any questions about this for you? Can we do a Google search together on this? Just so I can say, I'm not smarter than you, but here's my Google machine.
I mean,
let's go look this up.
That was the one thing I was going to say. I wasn't even going to say anything other than it took one Google search to find out that no, Ukraine did not sell U.S. weapons and on the black market.
Yeah,
because that's their whole thing now.
Oh no, and it's not like they're not going to convince people who would otherwise do research.
Yeah.
It's if you say it enough times, people will go, I heard this thing. It's like, stop saying I heard this thing if you're not going to take the time to look it up.
They're saying
that's the reason to counter it. Because they have such an effective messaging machine that's messaging garbage, like untrue things, but they know that people are just going to share it because the way that they put the message together is spicy and interesting.
Yeah.
So if you then say, this is actually misinformation, at least you're countering part of it and maybe making them think and wanting to look into it a little bit more. So if you just leave it out there by itself, it's just out there by itself.
Yeah, I guess I'm at the point now where I just think that they don't want to know more about it. They love the information bubble they're in, the vacuum that they've firmly bought property within. And I'm happy to have the conversation over phone or text or whatever, but I just don't want to throw myself in the middle of a Facebook fight.
Mm-hmm. I think you can say one thing and then you just have to leave it alone.
I'd be like, Revenge of the Sith was a good Star Wars movie, all right? And that's it. And then I walk away.
That would work for me.
All right. So, nice.
Secret Show is a trademark of North News Radio.
Secret show music or something.
We do. Yeah, you should be on that.
Yes, we can say it was all a dream.
Yeah.
This segment didn't really happen.
Did you just St. Elsewhere me? That's an old reference. All right.
Wow. I never saw. Did you ever watch it when it was on?
Yeah, I watched it all the time as a kid.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Yeah.
As a kid, you watched it?
Yeah, I love that show.
Of course you did.
I loved MASH. Medical shows were my jam when I was a kid.
No, I never saw it, but I do remember the finale and being in that crowd of people going, "Really? You did the Rosebud, or the Dallas shower on the whole thing, the Bobby Ewing? That's a little odd, but okay, you could do that, I guess."
But if you believe in the multiverse, then they really did exist. So
There you go. Right.
I remember when Dallas happened
Yes.
and that whole finale, and there was a radio call-in show. And so I called in and I said, I think Kristen shot JR. And my sister then called in and said, I think Carrie shot JR, because she thought you were supposed to use your name. And she was like 6.
I think Greg shot JR. Who's Greg on the show? I'm Greg. Pew, 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 pew. All right, I'm going to go do some stuff. I'll talk to you in 2 minutes.
Alrighty. All right, Kristen, we got stuff starting today with the tour?
Tomorrow at 10 o'clock in Milwaukee.
All right.
And the big rally, and it's going to be quite a rally, is going to be in Madison at 2.
2 o'clock tomorrow in Madison. Okay. All right. And so you got connected with Jeff Smith. You guys had you prattled on, and
Yeah.
you're good for everything else.
Yeah,
Okay.
he's busy. We'll be in La Crosse on Wednesday morning at 10, Eau Claire on Thursday afternoon at 2, and then another rally in Green Bay at noon on Thursday.
Okay. So 2 o'clock Thursday in Eau Claire.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Good.
No, 2 o'clock Wednesday.
So Wednesday is La Crosse and Eau Claire.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Gotcha.
Heather Martella is going to join us.
Oh, good. And there's Brittany joining us on The Secret Show.
Good morning.
I'm going to play the role of Greg Bach. Hey, Brittany, pull your microphone a little closer and tell us how you're doing today.
Good. How are you guys?
Good. Good. You ready to be, you ready for being drilled ceaselessly about this upcoming storm?
I'm ready.
Okay. Because it appears to be a case where it's like the rain snow line is right over us, so we can't really tell you how it's going to go. To which an entire audience goes, "Really? Again? The line just happens to be right above us?" Okay.
Right.
Fine. All right. Here we go.
Secret Show.
All across Wisconsin from Civic Media, this is Up North News Radio. Now, live from our Lake Minnesota studio, here's the founding editor of Up North News, Pat Brightlow.
Hey, good morning. Welcome back to Up North News Radio, unabashedly Wisconsin, brought to you by Courier Newsroom, carried by our friends on the Civic Media Radio Network at 7:06 on this Monday morning, March 3rd, 2025. Nice to have you along. Coming up at the bottom of this hour, we're going to talk to our friend and author Laura Bird, who the past couple of times has come on with various book recommendations. We're going to change gears this time and talk about book clubs, in part because, recent events have made it even more necessary to create diversions now and then, hobbies, anything to get our mind off the news here and there. So Laura Bird's going to join us and talk a bit about book clubs. You could find one, you could start one, you can tailor it to make it as informative or as fun as you want. And so Laura will talk to us about that. Coming up a little bit later this hour, Dr. Kristen Lyerly is with us and is going to talk about a tour that she is taking for reproductive health rights starting tomorrow. Greg Bach is here. Meteorologist Brittany Merlot is here as well on this Monday morning. Brittany, good morning. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you guys?
Well, we're good now, but let the Inquisition begin. So, Brittany,
I see thumbs down. I see head scratches. I see
there's-
nothing but disappointment.
There's a storm coming. Yeah. Actually, since Kristen just made a perfect shrugging emoji just now, putting her hands up, going, oh, what emoji best exemplifies where this forecast is right now? Is it the angry face? Are we rolling our eyes? Is it the one where the face is all blue and chattering teeth? Where are we on the storm right now?
Or is it the poop emoji?
Ooh,
Poop emoji, and you're like, ooh.
Brittany Merlot for the win.
that's a statement coming from Brittany, who loves weather, as we all know.
I know,
Yeah.
but apparently it's gonna be poopy for some folks out there because of this whole rain and then rain into snow thing. So tell us where we're at with it so far on this Monday morning.
Yeah, so it's given me a headache, that's for sure. I've seen the storm coming for quite a while now, and it has been all over the board and all over the place. And here's what we're looking at right now is rain first, right? We're getting pretty warm today. We're going into the upper 40s to low 50s across the state. Some sunshine out there now, but the storm is on our back doorstep. So we'll see those clouds increasing tonight. Will be cloudy by tomorrow, and we're going to be looking at light rain chances possibly this evening, and then a little bit through tomorrow morning. Now, the actual storm, the brunt of it starts to hit by tomorrow night. What we're looking at first is some heavy, heavy rain, where we're looking at around an inch of rainfall ramping up tomorrow evening into the overnight, and then it gets really messy. In the early morning hours on Wednesday, this thing flips over to some snowfall, and it continues to put snow throughout the entire state. So we are looking at a winter storm watch right now, anywhere from La Crosse through Eau Claire, just to the west of Wausau, all the way north into Ashland, Bayfield, Superior. All of these areas are looking at a good 4 to 8 inches of snowfall. And this storm isn't going to be the nice, light, fluffy type of snow. This is going to pack some heavy, wet, slushy snow that quickly accumulates. And it's also going to be blizzard-like out there with whiteout conditions expected because winds on Wednesday are going to be whipping at 40 to 50 miles per hour. So this is going to be a beast of a storm. It is really going to hit northwest Wisconsin very hard. And there is a pretty big cutoff line right now where the southeastern parts of the state really aren't looking at much, probably just a trace to an inch or two, while the north part of the state really gets hit. But again, this will be Wednesday morning and through our Wednesday afternoon where a lot of that snowfall is going to cause problems.
Okay. Great.
Okay,
Exactly, where is that line?
I'm not upset anymore.
Okay.
Greg's like, oh, I'm
Greg's
good.
like, okay, not my problem. Go ahead, Kristen.
I don't know. Pat and I are wondering where that line is, where that cutoff is.
Yeah.
Yeah, so right now it's pretty much I'm on the line in Wausau, where I can get anywhere from an inch to about 6 inches. So it really goes south of La Crosse is where that line starts, cuts up through Wausau, and then kind of continues right along the bay of Green Bay. So Green Bay is kind of in that cutoff line as well. So where we could get anywhere from just a few to maybe a lot.
Okay.
But northwest,
Awesome.
you're definitely getting hit.
All right. Roger reminds us from Stevens Point, this is the last week of Central Standard Time. We go to daylight time coming up next weekend. Robin Tigerton says, good morning. It's partly cloudy, 28 degrees. I had a great weekend. Got my Facebook back after being hacked. I had an Apple account hacked. I changed all my passwords.
Oofers.
I was out taking pictures over the weekend. I want to thank Kristen for sharing my pictures on her websites. I was a caregiver for my mom and dad in their later years as they got to live in their farmhouse on this National Caregivers Day. Let's see. He also says that Monday is great because I get to listen to 4 of the very best on radio and social media. So thank you for that, Rob.
Thanks,
And
Rob.
also notes, remember Wednesday is Ash Wednesday, and that usually means a snowstorm.
Is that true?
It could be. We don't. It's like the
March.
tournament blizzard. It's just a wonderful coincidence that it happens to be in the middle of winter. We don't. You can't say, oh, it's 4th of July. That blizzard comes. No, there's a calendar reason for this. Adam, we were talking about frozen pizzas in the last segment. The minor league baseball team, the Wisconsin Timber Rattlers, have coined the frozen pizzas as their alternate team this year.
Really?
Love that. I love
Oh,
that.
that's so great. That's Appleton.
Yes. So all the more reason to get out and watch some of these ball games.
Oh, they're fun too.
Oh God, much like, going to spring training last week is to get to these smaller stadiums, the Eau Claire Express, here in Carson Park. If you've never been, make it part of your road trip plans. Just not this week. Driving might be a bit of a character builder, but thank you, Brittany. Appreciate it
You're
very
welcome.
much.
Have a good one.
Up North News is having a live event coming up on Wednesday the 12th. That's next week already. On Wednesday the 12th at 5:30 at the Overture Center in Madison. We will be having a panel discussion, 3 different panel discussions on topics that are impacted by the Wisconsin Supreme Court election on April 1st. One great panel talking about how the court could impact reproductive health rights, one about jobs and the economy, one about education, all kinds of great panelists. Former Lieutenant Governor Mandela Barnes is going to be part of it, State Senator Kelda Royce, State Representative Francesca Hong, our friends Melissa Baldoff and Joe Zepecki will be there. Practically everybody you could want to talk to or hear from about the state Supreme Court will be on that panel. Except Kristen Lyerly, who is otherwise committed. But Kristen found us another wonderful obstetrician gynecologist who is going to be part of the panel as well, because you, young lady, are busy yourself talking about reproductive health care rights this week with certain goings-on that begin tomorrow.
We're taking a tour of the state, and as I'm listening to Brittany talk about the weather, I'm thinking about my travel plans as I'm headed towards La Crosse and Eau Claire on Wednesday. But before Wednesday, tomorrow, Tuesday, we're going to be in Milwaukee at 10 o'clock in the morning over by the VA, having a conversation with lots of folks out there. Our friend Chris Ford is going to be there, Dr. Carolyn Chatterton. Oh, and Chris Sinicki, Representative Chris Sinicki, Representative Margaret Arney. So we're going to have a great conversation about what reproductive freedom means and why it's important when we're thinking about the Supreme Court race and the outcome there. And then the big event is going to be in Madison at 2. We're having a giant rally on the steps facing State Street, where Senator Hesselbein is going to be there, Senator Royce, Representative Subak, so many great voices. The Women's March is on board, SEIU, nurses, doctors, patients, all talking about why this means something. Then we're going to march into the state capitol up to the Supreme Court. We've got a little bit of a special event planned there as well. So folks from all over the state are joining us. Reproductive freedom is absolutely on the ballot on April 1st, and it is incredibly important that we get the word out and that we're having these conversations about why this is necessary.
And that's all Tuesday. You
That's
keep
all
doing
Tuesday.
it. You keep doing it on Wednesday.
Yeah, we're going to be in La Crosse Wednesday morning at 10, Eau Claire Wednesday afternoon at 2, and then back in Green Bay, where we're doing another rally at the Brown County Courthouse at noon. Representative Ahmad Rivera Wagner is going to be with us. Dr. Anna Igler, my dear partner, Dr. Erin Sherman, who is a GYN oncologist, interestingly. Like, she takes care of women who have cancer, but there's a huge angle there with regards to your reproductive freedom and being able to make, your own health decisions. So you're going to be hearing it from a lot of different perspectives, lots of unified voices coming together to have these conversations that, frankly, we need to have in order to push back on this ugly interference by politicians in our own medical decision making.
So between everything that you're doing with your tour tomorrow and Wednesday, and then the Up North News event next week, Wednesday, and by the way, for more information, head to our website, upnorthnewswi.com/supreme, to learn more about our Supreme Court event. But between all of these events, it just bears saying yet again that although there are a lot of ads, and a lot of coverage about this, turnout for a spring election is typically pretty low. I mean, it's higher in Wisconsin than in a lot of other states. We do have a lot of civic engagement, but there's still a lot of people that sit home. And there's so much about this, Kristen, that is less about, people might be for Judge Crawford, they might be for Brad Schimmel. It's not so much that they are persuadable one way or the other. People pretty much know they're either for reproductive health rights or they're not. But do they stay home or do they show up and vote on April 1st?
I hear you saying, Pat, that it is important to cast your vote. And in fact, your vote does matter. So if you're feeling like, I'm kind of tired, I don't know if I'm going to make it to the polls. No, you must make it to the polls because it could be your vote that makes a difference here. So please do make your plan to vote, whether it's early voting, whether it's an absentee ballot, whether it's going so that you can get your sticker and show it off on social media. Your voice is your vote. And frankly, once again in Wisconsin, it has never been more important.
Absolutely. If you want more information about voting, head to myvote.wi.gov to learn more there about what's on your ballot, because there are other spring elections going on. There are still so many school referendums on the ballot. Typical line here, I ought to trademark this thing, is vote yes on the referendums, vote no on the legislators who got us into this mess over the past decade. So myvote.wi.gov to learn more. Let's check sports at 7:18 here. The Bucks were winners over the weekend against Dallas. They will meet again Wednesday in Milwaukee, right after the Bucks have a game tomorrow night in Atlanta. The Badger men's basketball team fell at Michigan State on Sunday, 71-62. The Badgers had won 6 of their last 7 coming into the game. There are 2 games left before the Big Ten tournament. They play Wednesday night at Minnesota, and on Saturday they are hosting Penn State. And you can hear that game against the Gophers Wednesday. Coverage starts at 7 across the Civic Media Radio Network and on the app. The Badger women's hockey team advances in their conference tournament, and the Badger men's hockey team play at Ohio State this weekend in the Big Ten tournament. More after this. You're up north.
Can I tell you the cutest story about the Gopher basketball team?
Secret show. Yes, by all means.
There is a kid from Cherry, Minnesota, which is like an intersection right next to Hibbing. And he helped Cherry win the state championship, and he now plays for the Gophers. So the good folks in Cherry got together and rented a bus and went down to the Gopher basketball game last weekend, and it was the sweetest, most small town, delightful thing. They're so proud of this kid, and they should be.
That's lovely.
Yeah,
Good
it's
for
really
them.
cool.
I love those. I love those stories. Oh, all right. We miss anything before we do one more segment here?
What do you want to talk about?
Well, we're going to start with Bill Medley and Jennifer Warren. So, you can tell us where you were when you first saw Dirty Dancing.
Can I be the Jennifer Warren to your Bill Medley?
Yeah. Sure. I thought you meant when you say, "Can I be that?" I'm like, you want to be the Jennifer Grey? You want me to be Patrick Swayze holding you up? Like,
Who did that? Somebody did that video, like some football players or something, and it was adorable. Was it Peyton Manning? It's an old Super Bowl commercial.
Oh, I don't remember. But yes, I always love when people spoof that.
I was with Canadians this weekend, apologizing a lot, and they were very patient. And I figured out that when I
tease them about becoming our next state.
I just don't feel like there's room for that right now. Also, I need a safe place just in case.
Yes.
And Winnipeg is way closer than Green Bay when I'm up in Hibbing, so
True.
I mapped that out.
You'll make your escape quicker than us. Yep. I don't know. I'm hoping we have gulags near each other so that we can still do the show, even if it's just shouting through the barbed wire.
Yeah, shouting into the abyss.
Yep.
All right, here we go.
Oh, you can just see Greg running down the hall and leaping into Kristen Lyerly's arms, and Kristen holds up Greg at the end of Dirty Dancing and
a wonderful doctor to death.
I got you, baby.
Yeah.
That's adorable. You think so?
Oh, please. Have you ever seen, OBGYN does so much surgery and so much, those arms can hold you up. Trust me. They can do it.
Okay.
Don't underestimate those surgeons, man. They'll get you every time. That's from Dirty Dancing. What was that? 1988, right?
87?
87. Yes, 87, 88. Yep.
Boom.
Yeah. I just remember that, we had newly discovered that we were, I would say, we is always so awkward. We were going to be having our first baby. Sherry's the one that was actually pregnant, with Samantha at the time. And yeah, that was one of our first date nights afterwards. We were just like, oh my God, we're going to have a baby. This is so crazy. You get grown up so fast. And yeah, so I always think about that because that was our date night right after we found out about that.
That's cute.
Yeah. And then everything changed.
I was going to say nobody else has a dirty dancing story for us.
Oh, I mean,
It's just
well,
gonna be-
I remember I was 9 when it came out. When we watched, I should say, I was 9 years old, maybe even 10 years old. We watched it on
VHS.
VHS, family video night, and being very, and much like The Princess Bride, being very upset having to watch this dirty dancing movie that looked romantic and dancing and blah blah, and then inside just secretly loving it.
See, that was it. An awkward part when you were younger is like you trash talk something like, oh, this is going to be terrible, and then you realize you like it, but you don't want to say anything about it,
And the medical access portion of the story going right over my head.
Oh yeah, yep. And it's a little bit of politics with again, reproductive care and things like that.
That might have, now that I'm thinking back, that might have seeded my interest in
actually yes,
OBGYN care.
Yep, I could see that.
There's my story.
Being able to help women who are in need, shall we say, at that point.
And never putting a single baby in the corner.
Nobody does that, Greg.
Nope, nobody does. I do want to touch briefly on the latest attempt by legislative Republicans to, again, emulate their buddies, Donald Trump and Elon Musk, who have, of course, this alleged group called Department of Government Efficiency, which is nothing more than a wrecking crew going through and attacking our government. But back in Madison now, we have the creation of the GOAT Committee, which again is some kind of governmental operations and transparency or something like that. They too want to identify the wasteful spending as they define what wasteful is. And of course, they've only talked about one thing, and that would be DEI. So if we could all just agree not to refer to this as the GOAT Committee or whatever, it's the anti-racism committee is what it is. Yeah. Anything that's going after racism, they're going after that. And then you can connect the dots however you want to. I'll just stick to calling it anti-racism if that's what their definition of going after wasteful spending is right now.
Yes.
I just wish they could be serious. And, this is where the postpartum Medicaid extension bill has ended up, interestingly. So you would think that the Assembly introduced this bill. You would think that it would have gone to the Health Committee because it is a health issue. But instead, it's gone to the GOAT Committee. And it's gone to the GOAT Committee because that's chaired by Shea Sortwell. And it has people like Joy Gobin who don't support postpartum Medicaid extension. They think that everybody can pay for their medical care, which they can't. That's why Medicaid is a thing. So it's gone there to die, but we're not going to let it die. That's the plan that we activist moms and OBGYNs and women across the state are currently working on. It's a shame to see politics at work like this.
It is, because, again, we have, in both cases, Congress and the legislature, we have a budget process. We have a process under which you can propose that something be spent, something be cut. You can hear testimony. You can take a vote. That's how it's supposed to work. And yet we allow these special committees, or in the case of the federal government, non-government employees to simply come in and claim to be firing and, cutting spending when it's all completely outside of the process and therefore is eventually going to be judged to be illegal. And I think it's going to be tough to put all that toothpaste back in the tube. The latest example of that are the layoffs that are going to be taking place at the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, the parent agency of the National Weather Service, because, we don't need people forecasting the weather. We can pay people to do that for us in the private sector. Nothing could possibly go wrong with that model, right, Kristen?
The lack of precision with these cuts, I don't think anybody disagrees. Like, there is waste that can be cut here.
Yes.
But you don't come in with a machete. You do it in a surgical way. And what we're already seeing is people are suffering. They are losing their jobs. They're losing their benefits. They're not able to live their lives. And until it hits home for you, it doesn't feel real. But plenty of people are feeling it now. It doesn't have to be this way.
So that's why in our our new Sunday politics newsletter, our question of the week dealt with these cuts. And, what's your take on how they should go forward? And we always give people, an A, B, C, D option. And A was full speed ahead. Let somebody else clean up the mess later. B was to just simply pause, for Trump and company to pause everything that they're doing and see how things shake out. Option D, the very last one, of course, was to stop it and even backtrack and reinstate some of these folks. But option C, I wanted to see what kind of pickup it would get, would be to pause it and to create a bipartisan citizens commission. And the model that I use and a lot of other people use is the old base closing commission, where it was, this is a bipartisan group. They're going to look at which military bases need to be closed, because otherwise nobody wants to vote to close a military base. Okay, that's politically toxic. But this commission says these are the ones that we don't need anymore, and that Congress has to vote up or down on the whole list. And it worked. Some duplicative spending was dealt with, and maybe that's what we need. Is that a cop out for Congress? Yes, I admit it is. But if they can't do the job, then let some concerned citizens do it. Kristen, we all know people who'd probably do a better job than the bunch there now.
And we're seeing that they can't get it done. They can't work together on behalf of the American people. So we need a better way.
Kristen, have a great week. Thanks so much for visiting with us.
So good to spend the morning with you, friends.
All right. Laura Bird is coming up next. We're talking about book clubs after this. You're Up North. There we go. All feels right with the world. It's Monday. Kristen's here. No more Monday. No more retreats and vacations. We're just back in the groove.
Yeah, we're all together.
So maybe see you Wednesday in Eau Claire.
That would be awesome. I would love that.
Okay. Hope everything is great tomorrow.
I will not be here next Monday because I'll be in Washington, D.C. for the big.
I just said we're back in a groove. That's right. Okay. No, Kristen, next week.
My life is just a wild festival right now.
You're chaos.
But it's worth it.
It is. It totally is. Laura, how are you?
Hi, guys. How are you?
Good. Good to see. But I just wanted Laura in here long enough because she may not have heard it. But at one point, either the week between my vacation and the retreat, when I was working for a whole week before taking another week off, I put something out there about who else should be fill-in hosts, because we had 4 guys last week filling in, and they were great and everything. But most of the answers were for Kristen. But there were also votes saying, "Who's that author that you had in? She should guest host too." So,
oh my, thanks,
Ms. Bird, you are getting popular over here.
Thank you. Thanks,
Laura. Could you do me a favor?
Mm-hmm.
On your screen, on the bottom, there's a thing that says settings.
Yes.
Click that.
Okay.
And then there should be a little thing on the left side that says audio.
Yes.
Click that.
Okay.
And I want you to click the little box on the very bottom that says automatically adjust mic volume.
Okay. So, wait, you want it clicked or not clicked?
Check it off.
Click it. Yep.
Okay.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
All right.
Is that okay?
That's great.
Going to be great. All right. Talk to you later, Kristen.
Goodbye. Have fun.
Kristen, nice to meet you.
Good to meet you too.
All right, Laura, I got to get your information over here.
I'm gonna go do some stuff. I'm gonna shut the camera off. Have a fun time.
Okay, we'll do.
Thank you.
Good.
Let's see. There's that. Yes. Oh, this is so good. Okay. This is great.
This will be fun.
Put all those groups in the show notes. Yes, this will be.
Thank you.
So, okay.
My husband was like, "You're talking about book groups?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he goes, "Wow, he could not have asked for a better person to talk about book groups."
Oh, see?
Because I'm in a few. I'm in quite a few.
Good. All right, we will get going in 2 minutes. So I'll put you back in the waiting room and see you in a bit.
butterfly in the sky. I can go twice as high. Take a look, it's in a book, a reading rainbow.
Hey, welcome back to Up North News Radio. It is 7:35 on this Monday morning, March 3rd, and it's always fun every couple of weeks or so to shift gears and welcome in author Laura Ann Bird to talk to us more about what we can find in a book, or in the case of this week, a book club. Laura, good morning. How are you?
Hey, I'm great. How are you?
Very good. Nice to see you again.
Nice to be back.
As you and you know, as people get set for this winter storm that's coming in tomorrow night into Wednesday, needless to say, a few folks probably on Tuesday night, maybe Wednesday night, are going to want to hunker down with a book. We have provided so many recommendations over your past couple of appearances that we're now moving into the next step in everybody's new burgeoning reading addiction, and that would be the book club. And you seem to be as enthusiastic as anybody I've ever met about book clubs, whether it's finding one or starting one. It makes me wonder. We've been talking about this forever, but I'm not going to say book clubs like got their start or something. I'm just saying they really came into the cultural consciousness over the past few years, haven't they?
Yeah, I especially think since the pandemic, I think they've been such a great way for people to get together, whether in person or virtually, which I'm going to talk a little bit about. But yes, I love book groups because they get you reading books that you might not read otherwise on your own. And they provide a wonderful opportunity to sort of unpack a book and discuss a book with other people. And 100% of the time when I leave a book group, I have a greater understanding, a greater appreciation of whatever I've just read than before I went into book group. So it's a great thing to be a part of, and it gets you reading more.
It also is the kind of thing that can come in all shapes and sizes.
Mm-hmm.
You co-founded something called the Great Midwest Book Group, which I'm guessing is more than, a half a dozen people, gathered around a coffee table someplace.
Yeah, so great segue. So I wanted to just talk really nuts and bolts here, and then I'll get a little more spicy as we go along. But, if you want to be in a book group, there are really two ways to do it. There's online and there's in person. And like I was saying, I think online since the pandemic has really taken off in popularity. And I co-founded the Great Midwest Book Group with a friend of mine in Indiana, like you just alluded to. And we meet quarterly. We meet on Zoom. We send out the Zoom link. We always feature Midwestern authors and books. And in fact, we're meeting on April 8th at 7 p.m. Central. Track us down on Facebook or Instagram at Great Midwest Book Group. I will send you the link so that you can join us. No pressure. You don't have to finish the book. You don't even have to read the book. But we are reading The Snowbirds by Christina Clancy, a great Wisconsin writer. And she will actually be joining us for the discussion. So it's a great way to talk with her, ask questions. It's really fun. And we're open to anyone. So that's my shameless plug for Great Midwest Book Group.
That's fine. That's wonderful. So you want to talk a bit more about either finding an existing book group or even thinking of starting one on your own?
Absolutely. So the first resource I give people is bookclubs.com. This is a great resource. You can go online and search for an existing book group, whether it's virtual or whether it's in person in your neck of the woods. There are great discussion questions at this website. And if you're kind of in charge of a book group, it's a great way to track details for your own book club. Like you can have all your members in there, you can message them, you can track what you've read, everybody's ratings of it. It's really a great tool. So I highly suggest that. One thing I want to talk about too, really quick, are some fun trends around book groups, kind of thinking out of the box here. This one is riveting. So there is this new thing and it's gaining popularity and it's called a silent book club. And you can check out details at silentbook.club. There are 17 chapters in Wisconsin alone, and this number doubled during 2024. I know that there's one in Madison, which is where I live. I haven't been yet, but I want to check it out because what you do is you go to either a coffee shop or distillery or bar with a bunch of other people. You're all reading different books. You just show up with whatever book you're reading. You say hi, and then everybody sits for an hour in companionable silence. And then when the hour's up, then people close their books and you have great discussions about what you're reading. And so you walk away from these with like great recommendations. It's sort of like a show and tell of what everyone's reading. So check out the Facebook page for silentbook.club is where you find it. Also check out your local indie shop, because there are indie shops that host silent book clubs. I know for a fact that Arcadia Books in Spring Green and Blue House Books in Kenosha both host chapters of the silent book group right there on site. And it's a win-win for all. It gets people out in the community, you know, the bookshops make sales. It's a great way to meet people. And it's nice for introverts because you can kind of just sit there and read quietly. I think that's pretty cool.
There is just no shortage of ways that this can specialize, whether, like you said, it's by trends or, the places that you go, things like that.
Yeah.
You could even do, like field trips, for example, come to mind.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I'm glad you brought that up. I live, like I said, in Madison, and one of the bookshops here in Madison is Leopold's Books Bar Cafe, and they have an adorable book nook. And I know that there are other shops with similar sort of setups, and you can rent this space or reserve this space for a pretty nominal fee, if not free, depending on what your bar tab is there. But it's a great way to get out and, take your book club on the road. To that end, when I was doing some research for this segment, there is a book group in Chicago called Read and Run, Pat, and they read the book ahead of time, and then they meet and jog while discussing the book. So I'm not sure that would appeal to me so much. I do like to run, but probably not while discussing books.
No. But so can I ask a bit about, I don't know, maybe etiquette is the right word or something, if it is or not. I mean, it would seem to me that there are some book clubs that are, shall we say, more serious or hardcore than others. Mm-hmm. Others are very loose, like maybe not everybody has read the book. So it could be possible that a book club you might discover isn't the right fit for you. Either they are very rigid in their reading requirements, it's almost like homework, or they're too loose, they're too social rather than focusing on the book. So, I mean, you don't have to feel like you're tied down. Right.
Well, that is a great point. And I've been in a lot of different book clubs with varying degrees of no judgment. Like if you just want to sit, okay, there we go. Sorry. If you want to sit with some friends and drink wine and not really discuss the book, that's totally fine. I think it's just finding like-minded people and making sure you're all on the same page and that you're all coming at it with the same expectation, because that can be really the death knell for a book club. I'm glad you brought that up.
Well, especially in this, politically charged environment as well. I mean, for some folks, book club is just kind of the name they give to more of a discussion club that gets into current events and news. And for other people, this really is meant to be their escape. And so, again, you don't want to necessarily put shackles on anybody or on any club, but it probably is a good idea to kind of set whatever the ground rules are going to be for maybe discussion topics, or what would you call it? Your mission statement or your philosophy of the club is just to know what you are.
Absolutely. I think that's a great idea. And I think it needs to be done so that everyone's on the same page when they show up. Absolutely.
Let's see. You mentioned a few other resources as well here that people can go to. We talked about the Silent Book Club. There's a subscription service out of New York, I guess. Open Book Club NYC. Is that what that is?
Yes. Okay. I found out about this. It's a real life book club. They meet in person in New York City, but they have a dedicated Substack following. So you can find them at openbookclubnyc.substack.com. And what they do is they just started a snail mail club, which I think is really interesting. So for $15 a month, they will send you their book of the month, and then everyone's reading it, wherever they live across the country, and you can join into the discussion on their Substack. So I think that that's a pretty cool thing. It's very low stakes. And again, it's great if you're an introvert, you can just kind of pop in when you want to. It's not face-to-face necessarily.
Well, and that is, by the way, it raises the question of book availability, because sometimes, people have had a tough time. They think they're going to get it at their local library, but maybe 2 or 3 people are already on the list to get it. And so I guess this is where we'd put in our usual pitch about, easy ways to get books through bookshop.org.
Absolutely. I love bookshop.org. I feel like I'm a walking advertisement for them. I swear I don't get any money from bookshop.org. But what you can do is when you go online, you can use their store finder and locate an independent bookstore that you want to support. And then a part of your sale goes to that bookstore. So it's a really great resource. And the cool thing is now they just started carrying ebooks, which is like huge news. Yeah, that's a great thing.
But that gets us all into the there's ebooks and there's audio books, and everybody thinks that an ebook means you have to have a Kindle and an Amazon subscription. Right. That ain't necessarily so.
Right. So I should just say I am not an e-reader. I always have the hard copy of a book. I prefer that. If you do have a Kindle, you could consider ditching it because Kindle only lets you read content purchased on Amazon. So if you find a different e-reader, there are a lot of different ways then that you can purchase titles. Gloss and Fable are two of them. Fable.co and Gloss, glose.com. So this just allows you to kind of break out of that Amazon bubble.
Well, that was, you anticipated my next question.
Also, I should say, yes, you can use, there you go. Yep. You can also use Libby. That is a free app, libbyapp.com. And that allows you to enjoy ebooks from your local library. All you need is a library card, but you need that app, Libby.
Wow. Well, so that was going to be my next point and you mentioned it already, that you are not particularly an e-book reader. Not that you're dissuading anybody, but that is your preference, is to have that book right in your hand. And I think we might be having a connection issue.
Pat. I feel like I'm kind of losing you. My Wi-Fi.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah.
I'll repeat the question. And it was all about preference of an e-reader versus having that book right in your hand, because I know from having just done a beach vacation, the book that I wanted to continue reading, it's a big, thick hardcover. So I did go with a smaller book to bring along just because of the beach conditions. But that's just all the more reason to have multiple books that I'm working on, because there might be one that's good to carry along and there might be one that's just easier to read on your phone.
Absolutely. As long as you're reading, that's what I care about. If it adds a few pounds to your suitcase, it's worth it. Yeah.
That sounds great. And so again, for folks that might have missed it at the start of things where we talked about all the different book groups that are out there, but yes, starting your own, the resources are there, and you can really tailor it to whatever works best for you and your friends. And I mean, how do you get to work? Do you necessarily urge everybody to put their book club on social media to try to get a whole bunch of strangers in there and grow the group, or just keep it close?
No, I'm in a book group that's with women in my neighborhood, and we switch houses each month, and who's ever hosting picks the book and provides snacks and wine. That we don't need social media for that. That's just a really intimate thing with friends and neighbors. The Great Midwest Book Group that I do online, that's different. I mean, that's a way of really bringing in a lot of people to celebrate Midwestern authors.
There's so much out there. And again, the website that she mentioned that you could check out is bookclubs.com to learn all about it. Laura Ann Bird, this was great. We all need a break. We need a break from social media. We need a break from the news headlines for a little bit before we come back in and be informed about the world all over again. But we need the escape that books provide. And we're so thankful that you keep coming in and telling us more.
Pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. Sorry about the Wi-Fi issues. I'm cursed,
okay.
I guess. I don't know.
No. We're fine. It's that's modern technology. Another thing we need to escape with a book now and then. Thank you, Laura.
Exactly.
Thanks,
Pat.
You bet. Have a wonderful day. And when we come back, we'll talk about what's coming up on Matinee on Air, which follows on weekday mornings here across the Civic Media Radio Network. And we will wrap things up with Mr. Bach as well right after this, live from Lake Wissota on the Civic Media Radio Network.
It's in a book, a reading rainbow. I can go anywhere. Friends to know and ways to grow, a reading rainbow.
There we go. Okay, we're in break, and you are all set. Yep, we just get that little hiccup now and then. So
sorry.
Oh no, it's okay.
I hate that. It's like my heart just stops. I'm like,
we are just happy to have you here, and I'll be in touch and see when we can book you for the next one.
Thanks,
here.
Pat. I hope that was okay. Was that what you wanted?
It was spot on. Absolutely
Okay.
perfect. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Pat.
All
Have
right.
a good day, you guys.
Yep. See ya. Bye.
Thanks.
Secret Joe.
Secret Joe.
Is Jane joining us? I forgot to ask if she was off today or not. Oh, let's see. As we go through our secret show here, let's see what else we can cover. Oh, look at this. Look at this comment. This page has the same intelligence as the dingbats on The View. Oh, bless your misogynistic little heart. Goodbye. Jane says, I'm not here right now. But that was a terrible Jane McNair impression. But Greg Bach is here, and he works with Jane all the time and can tell us more about McNair on Air, coming up 10 to noon across the Civic Media Radio Network.
Absolutely. Today, it's going to be actually a very busy week, but today we've got Corey Hartman, our very own Civic Media Corey Hartman. He is not only one of the great engineers here at Civic Media, but he's also a meteorologist. He's going to be talking to us probably about the storm coming this week, but also the basically the firings that they want to do at NOAA and the National Weather Service and how that will affect all of us once we don't have accurate weather reporting, and basically moving towards what they've wanted to do for a long time, which is privatizing the weather.
Jeez. Again, this whole notion that the private market, is the answer to everything is such a gross misinterpretation of what Adam Smith wrote originally about capitalism and the marketplace, and that capitalism doesn't work without effective government oversight. But we just have this talking point like, oh, no, private market will take care of it all.
Yeah.
Doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way at all. Coming back to what Laura was talking about there on the book clubs, I've only been a part of one or two like ad hoc book clubs. It was like just for like this one book that, one or two people really wanted people to read. And so I was a part of it. Mm-hmm. But I literally don't know where people get the time. I mean, I love my vacations because I can finally put myself into a book. And then I hear about people that read, a dozen books or more a year. And I just go, how? And I know what the answer is. Maybe not so much doom scrolling on my phone. Maybe there's some time there for that.
Well, I think also we talked about this last week. We asked the question to the audience, do you read? And one of the things we discussed and came to the realization that reading is a skill.
Yeah.
And when you start learning how to read from a young age, it's about one, just learning how to read, the basic, the act of reading, but then learning how to read while taking in information, finding out what you like to read. Because I think what the problem is sometimes people are like, well, I have to read Moby Dick. Why? Because everyone else has read Moby Dick. Like, well, What if you don't like it? And what if you don't understand it? You don't have to. If you want to read a sports biography, read a sports biography.
Oh gosh, yes. I mean, again, the books that I'm really into lately are oral histories.
Yeah.
So they're just nuggets of dialogue with people talking about this or that. I mean, there's no one right answer. The wrong answer is not to be a reader at all.
Yeah, agreed.
That wouldn't be any good. You also have a little something called This Shouldn't Be a Thing.
This shouldn't be a thing. We do it every single day on the show, Monday through Friday, at 11:50, the last segment of the show, where we look at one crazy, weird thing that we're just like, yeah, this shouldn't be a thing. Last Friday, it was zombie spiders. And
zombie spiders?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's fun. We do it every single, and what's great is that, like all shows on Civic Media, you go to civicmedia.us, you can click shows, and you can get Up North News Radio. If Pat's on a vacation or seeing some baseball in Arizona, Civic Media Mornings, whatever it is. But you can also now listen to This Shouldn't Be a Thing as a mini podcast, 3 to 5 minute episode podcast every day.
Oh, very nice. Okay.
Yeah.
From Ardith on Facebook, I again vote to have Laura Ann Bird sub for Pat when he needs a break. She's so lively and joyful in her presentations. In fact, I'd like to see her have her own show on these Civic Media stations. I hope Luke was listening. I mean, Ardith knows right where to go, invoking the handsome and capable Luke Mathers on this.
I mean, who doesn't want to hear a book, maybe an hour-long book club show on the weekends, just talking about 1 or 2 or 3? I don't know.
Well, look, I should not be promoting another radio station, but I'll just say there is another network of stations where they have a show where they just read a book for I think it's 30 minutes, might be 60. I don't recall. And it's been many, many years since I used to listen to it, but it got me started on several different books that I would hear it read. But then I'd go purchase them later, and we need more of that so badly, because otherwise we just turn into idiocracy, which again, folks, no longer just a movie. It's a documentary. Go watch Idiocracy. Let's see. Coming up on the Maggie Dawn show today, Professor Lowell Barrington from Marquette University will have historical perspective on what happened in the Oval Office Friday between Donald Trump and Volodymyr Zelensky. There's also Greta Bedekovics from the Center for American Progress on the dangers of the SAVE Act, and then Katrina Tweedell from Reaction from Wisconsin Ukrainians about what happened there, all on the Maggie Dawn show. I understand that there's also David Crawley going to be appearing there on Tuesday. There's Donald Trump on Tuesday is giving his version of a State of the Union address. It's not a real State of the Union address because they don't have those on years when new presidents get inaugurated, but they still let him talk to Congress anyway. So that's tomorrow night. So that'll be interesting.
Let's do a thing. How do you feel before the speech versus how do you feel after the speech? Because he's going to be a ray of sunshine for 45 to 70 minutes.
And again, much like the Oval Office meeting, I have to decide, will I actually watch it or not?
Yeah.
I have not actually. And I said so on social media last Friday. I'm like, okay, I heard this thing happened. I've read about it. I don't know if I'm going to watch the full video. And I still haven't watched the full video. I've seen a couple of snippets of it, but I knew it would just be a waste of my time and emotional investment, I think.
I think you should watch it, but also just know what you're about to get into, just so you have the full context.
And so that'll be happening with Trump's speech on Tuesday. Todd Alba will be anchoring coverage for that. Thank you, Todd. Thank you. Thank you for your service to be willing to anchor President Trump's speech on Tuesday. Tomorrow, we've got another bird, not Laura Bird, but Lou Ann Bird will be joining us and talking about the cuts at the VA hospitals in Milwaukee and across the country and their real impact. Greg's back in 2 hours for Matt and Aaron Air. See you then, buddy.
Bye.
And thanks to Laura Bird and Kristen Lyerly for being with us this morning. I'm Pat Kreitlow. Enjoy your Monday. See you tomorrow morning up north.